The independence movement in India was a series of historical events aimed at abolishing the British rule in India. The movement extended between 1857 and 1947. From Bengal came the first nationalist revolutionary movement for Indian independence. It then gained root in the newly created Indian National Congress, with leading moderate leaders wanting simply their fundamental right to participate in British Indian civil service exams and additional rights for the people of the land. Going back into the history, European traders first visited Indian coast in 1498 at the port of Calicut in search of profitable spice trade with a Portuguese navigator, Vasco da Gama. Just over a century later, the Netherlands and England built commercial outposts on the Indian subcontinent, and in 1613 at Surat created the first English commercial post. Over the 17th and early 18th centuries, the British military conquered the Portuguese and the Dutch, but were at odds with the French, who had sought to establish themselves on the subcontinent by then. The collapse of the Mughal Empire in the first of the 18th century provided British politics with a firm foothold. Following the Battle of Plassey in 1757, when the East Indian Company's Indian army defeated Siraj ud Dullah, the Nawab of Bengal under Robert Clive, the company became the main player in Indian affairs, and in 1764 won administrative rights over the regions of Bengal, Bihar and Midnapur in part of Bujhar region. After Tipu Sultan was defeated, most of South India became directly controlled by the company or indirectly controlled politically by a princely state in a subsidiary alliance. Syed Mir Nizar Ali Chitumir was an Islamic preacher who, during the 19th century, conducted a rural rebellion against the Hindu and British. He built a bamboo fort, Banshir Kella in Bengali, in Narkelberia village, together with his followers, which obtained important place in Bengali folk tale. The Anglo-Mysore Wars have been a number of wars fought between the Kingdom of Mysore on the one hand and the British East Indian Company, mostly represented by the Madras Presidency, in the later 3 decades of the 18th century, and the Maratha Confederacy and Hyderabad Nizam on the other side. Veera Pandya Kattabomman, the Paligar of the 18th century, was the leader of Panchalan Kurichi, a Paligar company in Tamil Nadu, India. The British arrested him and executed him in 1799 CE. Kattabomman refused to recognize and battled against the sovereignty of the East Indian Company. The Kongunadu chief and the Tamil Nadu Palayakkar, who had opposed the East Indian Company, was Dhiran Chinnamalai. After the deaths of Kattabomman and Tipu Sultan, Marathas and Maharuthu Pandiyar asked the support of Chinnamalai to battle the British at Coimbatore in 1800. The British indifference to leading native Indians such as the Mughals and ex-Peshwas and the annexation of Oudh caused disagreement among the Indians. Some people were also stirred by the marches of Dalhousie's annexation policies, the British notion of lapse or escapade, and the proposed displacement of descendants of the great Mughal from their ancestral home at Red Fort to the Qutub Minar complex near Delhi. The 1857 Indian Rebellion was an important turning point in contemporary India's history. While affirming Britain's military and political authority, the way India was to be controlled by them was significantly changed. The Government of Indian Act 1858 robbed the company of its participation in ruling India and handed it to the British government's direct jurisdiction. At the top of the new system was a cabinet minister, Indian Secretary of State, who had to be publicly advised by statutory council and was responsible for him by the Governor General of India, Viceroy, while in turn he was the government's responsibility. In royalty proclamation to the Indians, Queen Victoria guaranteed public service equal opportunities under British law and also stated that the rights of indigenous princes would be respected. The British stopped land seizure policies, established religious tolerance, and started admitting Indians into public service, albeit mainly as subordinates. The period of history, however, remains vital since it constituted the first political mobilization of Indian peoples from all parts of the subcontinent and rather than a collection of separate princely kingdoms, the first articulation of India as a nation. Congress was divided into two factions in 1907. The radicals headed by Tilak urged civic agitation and a direct revolution to topple the British Empire and gave up all British things. On the other hand, moderates led by leaders such as Dadabhai Naoroji and Gopal Krishna Gokhale desired reform in the context of the UK government. The temperance movement in India was brought into line with Indian nationalism led by Mahatma Gandhi, who considered alcohol as a foreign invasion into subcontinental culture. In July 1905, the wider and populous area, Lord Curzon, the Viceroy and Governor General from 1899 to 1905, purportedly ordered the split of the province of Bengal to increase administrative efficiency. However, the Indian leaders and people in India felt the British administration was trying to undercut the developing sense of nationalism and shatter the solidarity between the Hindu and Muslims. Bengali Hindu intelligence played a major role in local and national politics. When the Bengal was split to control the nationalists, Bengals was outraged by the division. The administration had not only failed to consider Indian popular opinion, but the action seemed to represent the British determination to divide and govern. Following the event, efforts were made to destruct the revolutionary underground of Bengal and Punjab, which had for some time been under heavy strain. The First World War began with an unparalleled spread of support from the mainstream political leadership of Britain. Contrary to virginal British predictions about an Indian insurrection, Indians played a significant part in the British war effort by supplying soldiers and supplies. In Europe, Africa, and in the Middle East, about 1.3 million Indian soldiers and workers were served, while both the Indian government and the princes sent huge amounts of food, money, and weaponries. Please watch the second part for continuation. Thank you.